Welcome to the Quantrix 22.2 What's New video. We've got some great news and features for you Agile modelers out there. First, a great time saver. Many of you have asked for an easier way to filter specific items from your matrix. You can do this today using expressions in the classic filter dialog, but now there's a super fast way using what we call item filters. If you hover over a category, you'll see this blue filter icon. Click it to see a tree containing all of the items and groups in that category. It does the obvious thing here. Uncheck a box to hide a group or individual item. You can expand and collapse groups or the whole tree. If you have a long list, the search box might come in handy, and it has a superpower too. After your search matches some items, you can uncheck the top level box and it will hide only your matches, leaving the rest. Click outside of the filter to save your changes, or hit Escape to skip them. It's important to know that these filters only affect the current matrix. If you have a linked category, you will not be filtering items in that matrix. However, if you do want to bring your complicated set of filters to those other matrices, you can do that when you first link the category. The filters will come along at that point, but they will remain independent after that. It's also possible to access item filters from the right-click menu. You can hide your selected items, or you can do the reverse, meaning you can hide everything except your selected items. Very handy. You'll notice that we have a new thing here also called cell filters, but actually this is the classic filter dialog, which is mostly used to filter cell values. We renamed it to help you understand the distinction between these two ways of filtering. Once you have filtered some items, you'll see this filter decorator in the View tab and in the model browser. We decided we liked this icon better than the collapse icon that we used to have, so you'll see this kind of icon whenever cells or items have been hidden, including collapsed ones. Many of you not only build models, but also build applications to help your customers understand and use those models. Most applications use buttons on a canvas for doing things like moving from page to page, refreshing data, or anything else that you can do with a script. In the past, to use a button, you always had to write a script. But now we've made it much easier to do the most common buttony things using what we sometimes call smart buttons. Here you can see a few different capabilities. Let's choose this option for a Next button and place it on this canvas. When we set the canvas to interaction mode, it might look strange at first that this button is grayed out. But since we don't actually have a next page, Quantrix is telling us that pushing this button won't do anything, yet. So let's make a second canvas and put a previous button on that one. Look, we can go back and forth. So maybe you guessed that the order of the canvases in the model browser determines what previous and next actually mean. If you put a set of canvases inside of a folder, previous and next will stop at the first or last canvas in that folder. Because we also have a direct navigation option, we could send a user to any canvas in this folder, or we could navigate to a canvas in a different folder with its own canvas ordering. Using this approach would allow you to build complicated branching flows from one set of canvases to another, if your application needs that. We have more smart buttons that allow you to refresh one or many data imports that you might have in your model. Just pick the ones you want and place the button. No script required. In our last release, we introduced the Credentials Manager and Single Sign-On. This box will determine if the user will log into that data source using a saved set of credentials, such as an admin or system account, or they will use their own credentials either through a prompt or through Single Sign-On. Once you start using smart buttons, you'll notice that we've done some useful things like allow you to rename your canvas and have the button names follow, and reorder your canvases, and the previous and next just use that new order for navigation automatically. Those are some really smart buttons. By the way, although smart buttons don't have scripts that you can edit, all of the new methods we created to make these buttons work are available for your own scripted buttons. These script methods are not only for navigation, but also for listing and making changes to objects that live on a canvas. It has not been possible to do that before, but now it is. Check out our scripting documentation to see all of those fancy new methods. Sometimes we want to capture a yes or no answer from our model users. In the past, you might give an instruction to put a 1 or 0 in a cell for this purpose, or you might constrain the input of a cell to a list of approved values. We've added a new kind of constraint that's ideal for this type of yes-no question. It's called a Boolean constraint. When you choose this option, the default is to display a checkbox to the user, and as expected, clicking the box toggles between the underlying values of 1 and 0. You can choose to show the boxes when they're empty, or hide them until a user hovers over for a little bit of a cleaner look. We have some other common values that you might choose, or you can create your own custom values like up or down, Windows or Mac, maybe chicken or fish. Be creative here. By the way, the underlying value of a Boolean constraint can also be a formula. If the result of that formula is 0, the box will show as unchecked or false, and any other value will show as checked or true. We've made some significant enhancements to our Salesforce connector this release. Namely, we now support connecting via OAuth. That means that it's possible to use single sign-on when connecting Quantrix to Salesforce. And while previously we supported tables only, we can now query data from custom report objects too. To use this, you will first have to set a modeler option to use your company's custom URL. That will usually be something like yourcompanyname.my.salesforce.com. Then when you create a new query, choose the custom option, connect, pick reports, and you'll see a list of reports that you have viewed recently. If your list is empty, that's probably why. Go ahead and view the report directly in Salesforce now, then refresh, and it will show up in your list. Some reports contain both aggregated and detailed data. You can get either one into your Quantrix model by choosing one of these options. Lastly, I'll mention a couple of quality of life improvements. If you are a Mac user with an M1 or M2 computer, we now have a new installer dedicated for those machines. In prior releases, we did automatically use the Rosetta translation environment, but this native installer should deliver some performance improvements for Quantrix on your new Mac. Finally, we try to avoid it, but every once in a while we introduce a new feature that causes an incompatibility with prior modeler versions, and we did so in this 22.2 release. So you won't be able to open 22.2 models with modeler version 22.1 or cloud version 22.1. However, in 22.2 and all future versions, modeler clients will now get the update signal directly from their enterprise cloud server. So those users will only get the signal after their cloud has been updated, which will almost completely eliminate this particular kind of incompatibility. Whew! We hope you enjoy using the great new features in Quantrix version 22.2. We'll talk to you next time.